Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Gerry. Joining me on this beautiful day is Terry and Max. I say beautiful because it's beautiful in some ways, but I got to be honest. I'm still cut. I'm still oozing blood from yesterday. That was a tough way to lose. Tough way to go out of the cup. And if you have recorded this, sorry for the spoiler, but we didn't win. Hey, so we'll go more into moral victories and stuff like that in a minute. But so let's start. The final score ended up being 2-2. But Everton lost on pens, PKs. Yeah. So Terry, let's talk about the first half because I'm just going to go ahead and say this before you guys get to it, so we can move past it. So everybody knows. To me, I feel like we lost this game in the first half. That's where we lost the game. Like, I know we lost in penalties, but honestly, first half is the thing that pissed me off more than anything. So we'll get more to that. Terry, give us some first half comments. How'd you feel about the lineup? How'd you feel about formation, tactics, all that stuff?
Formation, tactics, lineup. It was what it was. There was nothing else he could have really done. Like, I think he had even less players than he had at the weekend. He had to just go what worked at Old Trafford, and after the effort that the players put in at Old Trafford, they were always going to be a little bit slower to the ball, a little bit more tired. You know, it's so few days in between games to recover, and it definitely showed in the first half. We were second best all over the pitch. Their extra man in midfield that showed a lot. Holgate and Davies, God love them. They've worked their asses off the last two games, but they just couldn't live with Leicester's midfield. They've got some quality players like Ndidi and Maddison, and they were just chasing shadows. And as you say, Jay, the game was really lost in the first half. Like the two quick fire goals. Once there was a 2-goal, cushion. It was always going to be a big ask to overcome that. And to be fair, now when you look back on it, if not for a world class strike by Leighton Baines rolling back the years, the game would have been over before the penalties. Because on the strength of the whole game, I think Leicester would have been felt very hard done by if they had lost on penalties after being in control for so much of the game, especially the first half.
We'll get a little bit more into chances lost, chances missed here or there, because second half we did miss a lot. But first half comments, Max, it seemed to me like there was a hesitation to really go after them. It seemed like we were trying to stay compact in our defensive end. You saw them passing the ball around many times, trying to find openings, find gaps. But that allowed them time on the ball. It allowed them time to, you know what I mean? And it seemed like that kind of allowed a mentality to seep in that they were going to be controlling the half. Did you get a similar feel from watching that same half, and you think that kind of allowed them to find the gaps?
True, but not only that, I think that sort of points towards what Terry said, and that the lads did look absolutely knackered, particularly in that first half. As Duncan said after the game, he was working with what he had following the Man United game, pretty much the same lineup, and obviously missing out Luca Dean, putting Leighton Baines in there following the injury. What I thought in regards to Leicester having so much of the ball, like, I found a lot of, a heavy similarity between the games against Chelsea and the games against Manchester United, and I don't think Everton as a collective are confident in their identity in possession. I think we've only just now changed to a 4-4-2, and we're seeing the benefits of that. However, I think the general tactical approach is to be effective on the transition. Where on that counter-attacking transition, you've got more often than not Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin as the two up there, and they certainly hurt Chelsea. Probably just should have done a bit more against Manchester United, and it took us a while to get into our groove, but we started to look like, as you say, we were conjuring up more chances in that second half, and I personally will attribute that to Moise Keane coming on. I thought he was very, very good when he came on, and it changed the formation of the side. I think Duncan even said towards the end of that game we were looking at more of a 4-2-4, which is a bit bizarre, but it is what it is. I can't hide my disappointment. Hats off to Duncan for what he's done in the 3 games, and it looked like he's going to get the Arsenal game as well on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Hats off to the mentality that he's installed into the squad. He looks like he is a man that is respected, and it looks like that squad, have got unlimited amounts of respect for him. They've ran themselves into the ground. But as you say, that lapse in 3 minutes between both of their goals, just simply not good enough at all. Do you know what? The Maddison goal, the finish in and of itself, great finish. I'm not really faulting Pickford too much. It was well out of his reach. But that space, that you can't allow James Maddison, the form that he's in. And again, you could probably say that's Tom Davies, that's Mason Holgate establishing themselves as a midfield partnership. It's not Mason Holgate's natural position. But regardless, the space that James Maddison was allowed for that first goal, it kind of made obviously when we conceded, heads have fell off, and 3 minutes later, I think it was, Johnny Evans is point blank range, smashing it in. I could make the case that Pickford and his defenders could have done better in that situation, but obviously it puts you in a hole. We did what we did in that second half. I was at the game as I was watching. I was just sort of calculating in my head, right, if we managed to get a goal before 70 minutes, I think we'd probably be in with a chance. Last 20,
yeah, agreed,
we could do it, and that's why honestly it hurt so much, because I thought we would go on and do that. I thought obviously bang on 70 minutes, Tom Davies has got a great goal, brilliant ball in by Richarlison. Leighton Baines just being Leighton Baines, absolute hero of a man. And as I've said, it just seems to be in that all too familiar fashion when it comes to Everton, and not just cup competitions, penalty shootouts. Look at Southampton last season, even further back, Fiorentina in the UEFA Cup years ago. It stings. It really does sting. The first 2 penalties weren't good enough.
So you got us into the second half there. Moise Keane subbed in at the half. Duncan Ferguson not afraid to make adjustments, to just bring them in and just literally just throw everything at the wall. You saw Jink Tosin come in. And I'm trying to remember the other substitution. Who was the other player?
Gordon came on.
Oh yeah, young Gordon.
I think it was Iwobi. I thought Anthony Gordon was fantastic as well.
It was awesome seeing him. I was so excited to see that kid play. I was so excited for him. That was just I'm glad you remembered that, because that was important. But Terry, it seemed like to me we began to press a lot more. We were going into the tackle a lot stronger. One of the things that really seemed to get our juices flowing and get the crowd motivated was the intensity. When the opposition had the ball, win the damn ball back. Force an errant pass. There was a lot of that. And it just seemed contagious. I got psyched even though we were down, because I was like, okay, we're actually putting a fight up here. Was there anything else that you noticed about that second half that we changed besides the adjustments that I mentioned there? And if you want to talk a little bit about how some of the players played that were brought in, and maybe some of them why they were brought out.
Well, I think a big thing was, the Goodison crowds kept with the team. We saw a couple of weeks ago when we were 2-0 down to Norwich how different the reaction of the crowd was. But I think, with Duncan being the manager and the last 2 performances and all that, I think a lot of Everton fans in Goodison realise, we've got a big part to play here. We need to, give the players that little bit extra, just because they're going to be feeling some tiredness, some fatigue in the legs. And I think that was a major factor which kept the players going, because as Max said, they looked absolutely shagged. They were all like, they were not in a good way. But the subs, Keane didn't set the world alight, but I thought he was positive. He was good. He had a good little run for the cross for Calvert-Lewin. All things aside with Keane, so far this season, the little controversies and that from last week, he is still new to the league. Like he is learning. This is a good team he's playing against there, and he's you can see the willingness is there. He his natural game won't be to run around putting himself about and bully people, but he's obviously saw that that's what's required in this team at the minute, and he's up for doing it. So credit to him. Tosin did what Tosin does, which is not a lot. And Gordon, I've always happy to see a young lad come through. Like, obviously he couldn't have the impact that he probably would have liked to have had with the time remaining, but I think at the minute these substitutions are probably quite easy for them. Just put on who's fit. Simple as that. Because he's got 10 defenders on and 5 strikers and 1 midfielder, and he's got to just make the changes. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin was on the left midfield at the end of the game, and
he looked on the left side for sure. Yeah,
and the Goodison crowd was a big thing for me. Obviously, it's people have been critical of it in the last, myself included, in the last couple of years, but I think these last few games have sort of proved to a lot of supporters that they can have a major effect on results. I know you got to always, it's not all down to the crowd. You've got to be met in the middle by the team, but I think that's what the team have been doing the last few games, and we're going to need it against Arsenal as well, because a lot of these players, even if some of the others come back into the team, a lot of them will be very tired and be nursing injuries and not be fully fit and whatnot. And it's at Goodison again. It's Arsenal. We are gonna need to have that level of energy that we displayed against Chelsea to get a result against them. If we can get a result against them going into Boxing Day with a new manager, that'd be fantastic, considering the position we look to be in going into these fixtures.
So, there were some players that felt like, I think everybody, it's well documented. A lot of people said they didn't feel like Keane had a great match. Iwobi didn't have his best. Bernard was ineffective in the first half. Again, that could be him kind of finding his way back. But you can definitely tell that it was not lost on, Ferguson that Bernard was not really having much of an impact in there. I just want to say for their second goal, Johnny Evans does push Keane in the back. Keane leans forward, takes a few steps, and because of that push, he is now 2 or 3 steps forward, and he doesn't step back or look behind him. And that's why Johnny Evans was open, by the way. So the push, whatever, that happens. It's these are Premier League opponents. It's going to be physical. I've got to put that one on Keane, because I feel like Keane should have. Somebody pushed you in the back, you step back, and you know where he is. That drove me insane. How inconsistent. 1 second he makes an amazing defensive play, dribbles through some pressure, and then puts a through ball to no one. Okay? No one. And it happened more than once, where he'd slide a pass through after a great play to nobody. Okay? Keane was killing me, but it wasn't all bad for him. It's not like he was anonymous. He was okay. But I got to say, in the first half, I feel like no one was really exempt from the poor play. Everybody had some bad moments. Everyone. And it was tough when you finish that half and you're just like, that's a bad taste, man. That is a bad taste. Second half, some people played well, though. All right? And we need to... I thought both of our goals were awesome. I thought both of our goals were worthy highlights. All right? I was proud of those goals. I was proud of the feeling I had during those goals. My kids were jumping on the couch. My whole family was screaming. Even the Baines goal was almost... a spiritual experience in terms of how hard I yelled. Okay, my entire family was flipping out. It was great, you know. But I'm trying to keep it in perspective. So that brings me to my next question, guys. And I'm going to go to Terry first, and I'm going to let Max finish it because I'm curious as to what Max says about this, actually. But should we be encouraged by that second half performance, that second half fight, or do we say, shit, we still lost? All right? It's a serious question because it's. I don't think there's a right answer. I think it's down to the person. So, Terry, what do you think about that?
I would usually fall in one category of you're either a winner or a loser, and we were a loser last night. But given the circumstances, the context, the injuries, the manager situation, the season so far, you can't take that game as just a black and white. Well, we lost, we're out the cup. We were saying a couple of weeks ago that we didn't think these players cared, and the team had no fight in it, and we no connection with the players. To fight back against a very good team with so little of our quality play, like so many quality players of our first teamers out injured, it speaks to sort of grit and fight that we didn't even know was there. So it doesn't change how disappointed I am to be out of the cup, but I do take something from the performance just this once because it's something for the new manager to build on, and I'm happy with that because I didn't think it was there.
Yeah. Max,
in terms of as what Terry said about the atmosphere that was kind of conjured up by Goodison, obviously being there, experiencing it, that window of time between Tom Davies' goal and the penalties, it was absolutely sensational. Goodison was in full voice, like that little the interval between play, setting up for the penalties, everyone just singing their hearts out, and fingers crossed that can be a catalyst for if anything, the home performances to by default just become stronger. Every home game expect a win, hopefully we draw that from it. But I've said it countless times before, I'll say it again, we've never won this bleeding League Cup. We've never won it. We haven't won anything since 1995, and I do not know in what alternative universe Cenk Tosun takes your first penalty. Steve Walsh and Sam Allardyce's reign coming back to bite us on the arse in ways we just didn't think was possible. The only lads that scored, Holgate and Davies, I'm sure you can draw confidence from that. Obviously very young players, and if they can show that sort of maturity going forward.
I thought Calvert-Lewin made his.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
that's all right.
As well. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but still, point stands. Davies got a goal in normal play. Pair of them both scored the penalties very well. So up the youth, and hopefully we carry on the weekend.
Nice. This one cut deep, I'll be honest, and I was in a funk all night. I had to fight because as soon as we went to a friend's house for a Christmas gathering, first thing I did was crack open a beer. And I told John, I sent, Toffee Blues John, I sent him a message like, I'm on the ale. We don't say that here. But I tore through that first one so fast, immediately popped another one, and I was like, okay, Gerry, you're 41. You can't do this. So I ended up having to have a little restraint. But I felt awful.
According to a Leicester fan on Twitter, I'm 50. I feel 50, but I'm not.
So yeah, I mean, I felt awful. It was difficult to console me yesterday. Today, I do remember that good feeling, and I do feel like when we have a home match, we'll win. I do. I felt like the chances we had second half were just, it was exciting. How does Gerry Mina not score a couple of those headers? You know what I mean? Oh my God, how does that happen? It's just, and he's a guy who'll sit there and jump over 4 people to get a header normally. So these are things that I am encouraged. I do still have that feeling like Terry has said before where you just feel like you got a lot of bad luck, you know? And whether or not you believe in luck, whatever, you can't deny we were unfortunate in some instances. So how about we just put it that way? We'll have the luck discussion a different day. So yeah, this one was a bummer, folks. But yeah, now we have one choice. We plow forward, get sixth, win the FA Cup. This is easy, done deal. All right, say it, speak it into existence. This is what happens. All right, so that's it. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to move on. All right, we'll probably be talking about that Baines goal for years, though. Holy hell. So that's it for our Carabao Cup extra time. If you're digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues. We'd really appreciate it. If you want more Terry, Liverpool Echo fan Gerry, you can find him there. Check his Twitter, when and where he's going to be there. You know, go on the streets. Find Terry. Show him the love. The hug love. Also, if you want more Max, Max he's got a podcast, folks. He's got his own venture, his own business venture. Carlisle podcast, yes? That's what it's called, right? I want to make sure I'm getting it right.
Yeah. Guy glitched on me a little bit, but yeah, the Carlisle podcast.
Carlisle podcast, everybody. Check it out. It's Max interviewing other people. And it all has to do with sport, and a lot of it has to do with footballers and the footballing industry and development, and there's a lot of it's a pretty rad little podcast, and I don't think there's a lot of stuff out there like it. So check that out, especially if you're aspiring to a career in football, that kind of thing. And I feel like a lot of you are. So check that out. Is that pimping you out well enough, Max? Because I believe it. I actually
Thank you,
I believe everything I just said. I do believe it's a really good resource. So I think that's...
Checks in the post.
Do what?
Checks in the post.
All right, guys. Let's move on. Let's talk Ancelotti. All right. Bye. It's a bad throw. Bye.